Hi, thanks for joining us today. We've got a great show lined up for you. We're going to be talking about Social Security, when you can take it early, maybe the benefits of taking it a little bit later, income planning, fees and commissions, how advisors get paid, Roth conversions, all right, the benefits thereof, and the benefits of holistic planning and why you want that in your overall plan. So stay tuned.
Retiring Well, brought to you by Centennial Wealth Advisory, financial advisors specializing in retirement planning and serving all of Northern Michigan. Retiring Well, helping you plan for a successful and comfortable retirement. Retiring Well, plan to retire well.
Hi, welcome to our show. Listen, in this segment, I want to talk to you about Social Security. Now, if you did not know, most of us have to wait till full retirement age to get the full benefit, as they call it. And that depends on when you were born. That could be age 65, could be age 67, or anything in between. But if you didn't know, you can take Social Security actually early at age 62. Now they're going to discount your benefit, typically 75% of what it would have been at full retirement age. Now, once you get to full retirement age, you can also wait to take Social Security. You can wait to age 70. And there's good reasons to do that, because each year you wait, they'll grow it by 8% plus whatever the CPI was. If you do the math, the difference between taking it at age 62 and taking it at age 70 is almost double. So if you don't have pension income or very little pension income, Social Security could be your greatest guaranteed account, and maximizing it is going to be very important. Now, and there's some cases where you can't do that and you have to take it early. That's fine, but that's all the more reason why you want to have a good income plan to make sure how it fits in with the overall picture. Now, there's some other good reasons why you might want to wait to take Social Security. What if you're that person that's stopped working, all right, and you've got a lot of money in your IRA accounts? Well, you're going to have a lot of room in that lower bracket, especially if you wait to take Social Security. That would be a great time to do some good tax planning and aggressively take money out of those IRAs, because guess what? You're buying out Uncle Sam in the low tax bracket. Now, we've been given a huge gift with the Tax Reform Act, that because where we were in the low bracket, maybe 15%, it's now 12%. Or if we were in the 25% bracket, it's now the 22% bracket. Now, what a lot of people don't realize is that sunsets now in another 6-7 years, meaning it goes back to the old rates. So we have a huge opportunity in the next 6-7 years. If we're always going to be in that low bracket, for example, why wouldn't we be utilizing that bracket as much as we can to buy Uncle Sam out at 12 cents on the dollar versus 15 down the road? Now, another thing you have to consider when you're looking at Social Security is if you're married, the surviving spouse gets to keep, whoever dies first, and I could pick on he or she, but whoever dies first, that surviving spouse gets to keep the greater of the two Social Securities. So sometimes in our planning, it might make great sense to have maybe one take it a little early, but let the other one, maybe the one that has the greater benefit, wait to age 70, because that's going to become the survivor benefit. So all the more reason why you want to take a look at this, you want to do an income plan and figure out how Social Security fits into it. So stay tuned.
If you're retired or soon to be retired, let us help you plan to retire well. Centennial Wealth Advisory specializes in retirement planning and has offices in Traverse City, Cadillac, Petoskey, and Gaylord. We'll never pressure anyone to become a client. Our goal is to inform and educate. Simply schedule a meeting at one of our Northern Michigan office locations for a free, no obligation retirement review.
Hi, welcome back. Listen, in this segment, I want to talk about income planning. Okay, one of the biggest questions people have when they're taking income, if they're at retirement, is this money going to last? Very, very important. And we want to set a plan ahead of time so we can plot that out based on what your income needs are to make sure that you're not going to run out of money before you die. Very, very important. Now, as a general rule, when you're developing an income plan like that, you want to be dealing with low volatile accounts. You know, we've talked about this before. If you're taking 4 or 5% for income, that's what you need, and we can grow that account by, 5, 6%, well, then that's going to work all day long because I'm just pulling the cream off the top, right? But if I'm that person that needs 4 or 5% income and the market drops to half its value, now that 4% becomes 8, 9, 10%. How am I going to grow it back? I now forever got to get better than 10% rate of return to even start to grow that portfolio back from where it fell. So very, very important if you're doing income planning, we better be dealing with low volatile accounts. The other thing we want to do in income planning is make sure that we grow as much as we can possibly do, grow those guaranteed accounts. You know, if I'm somebody that has very little or no pension at all, and I've got Social Security, then growing that Social Security benefit is going to be a huge part of this. You know, as you're aware, you can take it at age 62, you can take it early, but if I can wait, if possible, if I can wait as long as possible to get to maybe age 70, I can just about double that benefit. That's a huge thing if that's my only guaranteed source of income coming in. So in income planning, you want to deal with low volatile accounts from your savings, but you want to grow those guaranteed accounts as well. It's going to help us in the income planning. Now, I want you to be careful. I've had a lot of people out there, they'll go to an advisor, they'll get an income plan, okay? A lot of times it'll be this thick, and they'll go, hey, based on this plan, the advisor told me that I can live to 110 and my money will never run out. I'm all good. He said I'm fine. We have to understand in those plans, there was a growth rate assumption put in there, meaning they had to assume some rate of return that they figured that portfolio was going to grow by as you were taking income. Now, not to make this oversimplistic, but think of this. If they put a growth rate assumption in there of like 5, 6%, and they said you could live to 110 and never run out, you understand that that has to make 5, 6% every single year. That's the assumption they put into that plan. Is that the way markets work? Absolutely not. I encourage you, if you're somebody that's not done that income planning yet, or you want answers to some of those questions we talked about, I encourage you, give us a call. This is what we do for our clients, especially those that are near or in retirement. So give us a call. Thank you.
Art, I'm really glad Larry brought up the topics of Social Security and income planning. It's so vital in your retirement. When we're looking at Social Security, we look at it as a retirement asset because you think of it, of all the years that you may collect that income, how many hundreds of thousands of dollars that might mean for you and your family. So a lot of times we can run what we call a break-even analysis to sort of look at, hey, what if you started at, say, 62 versus waiting till full retirement age? What is that break-even point as far as the cumulative assets you've drawn? Typically that might be in the 78, 79 year age range. Interesting story, Art. I was just sitting down with a client and we were talking about Social Security for him, and he brought up his 95-year-old father and how they were having a conversation about drawing Social Security, and how the 95-year-old man said, well, when I started, I was thinking I'll start it at 62 because I may not live much longer, and so I want to draw that. And here he is now, 33 years later, continuing to draw that Social Security. So again, Art, it's a significant asset when you look at your overall retirement plan.
Absolutely, John. I think that's a lot of folks we see out there fail to realize that. And when they take a look at Social Security, they underestimate the power that can have over their plan. Whether you have little to no savings or a big savings, it really can have a major impact on the long-term success of your income plan, and really maybe what you can leave behind, even when you don't think of Social Security as a legacy plan, but it can affect your other assets. So also with income planning, one of my greatest joys as a financial advisor, and I think many of us here on the team, is helping people plan for retirement, helping them build those income plans. When we're sitting down and working through things and can figure out that you can retire, or maybe you're going to be able to do those things you want to do in retirement, that's really rewarding for us as an advisor. And it amazes me how many folks have never done that, whether they're nearing retirement or early in retirement. Those are vital. Don't you want to know what that looks like, where your different sources are, what your options are? What does it look like if you delay Social Security? What taxes does all that have upon that? So if that's you out there, if you're nearing retirement or early in retirement and you don't have an income plan, you don't have that retirement plan built out where you know what your taxes are, or like John was talking about, what those different Social Security options, give us a call at the number on the screen. We have a free, no obligations visit. We can do those in person, via phone, or online to meet your convenience and hopefully help you plan to retire well.
Every night around the table after grace, we all hold hands, and the child of the day that has done something kind gets to go and say family, and then we all follow through and say always and forever, no matter what, and then we squeeze hands.
What qualifies someone to be a foster parent is simply if they can love a child.
What Bethany Christian Services is to Michelle and I is a lot of different things. Kids don't come with a rule book, and foster parenting definitely doesn't come with a rule book, even though there's licensing and stuff that goes along with it. But what they are to us is a resource. And no matter what questions we have, it's an easy phone call to make, it's an easy email to make, and within minutes, if not the very next day, they're back in touch with us with an answer, a solution, or a helpful hint to try different things.
Hope keeps us going. But love is the reason.
Bethany Christian Services is a global nonprofit that supports children and families with world-class social services, all designed to help families thrive.
They love children. They love God. They know that they want to spread that love throughout the world and help those vulnerable children.
Love is not always easy in some situations, but you kind of let your barriers down. You let your guards down when you see children in this tough situations they're in. You kind of throw caution to the wind and don't think about the consequences. You don't think about the what ifs, and you just say, if I have a few days to fall with these children, maybe I can change their lives.
Fostering has taught us to be flexible, to have more faith, and let go and let God.
I want to help you. I want to give you some love. Come here, I want to give you a hug if that's okay. That's what qualifies someone to be a foster parent. You don't need to have all the answers, because nobody does. You don't need to have all the training down pat, because you can't. You learn as you go. But if you're willing and you have that love, that's what makes a good foster parent.
If you see a 2-year-old kid come into your home that's never had love, it will change your life forever.
It means that if you're sitting at our table, I don't care if you are a foster child, if you are a biological child, if you're adopted, if you're off the street, your family, always and forever in our house.
Hi, in this segment, I want to talk about fees. Listen, understanding how your advisor is getting paid is very, very important. Now, we actually have the tools to take any portfolio, get behind it, and show you exactly what you're paying in fees. But I just want to speak to it because those fees can take different shapes and forms. So, for the most part, if you're dealing with an insurance product, whether that be an annuity or be life insurance and the like, most insurance companies pay the advisor a commission. Okay, and they usually get a bigger commission if that annuity is of a longer period of time. Okay, in life insurance, it's usually a percentage of the first year premium. But typically, when you're dealing with an annuity or life insurance or an insurance product, the advisor is getting a commission. There's usually no charge to the client in that environment, no fee to the client. So that can be a good thing. Another way insurance companies can charge is when they have these annuity products. Sometimes they'll come with these riders, whether it be a guaranteed death benefit that's going to be there in case something happens, or a guaranteed income stream that's going to be there. And usually they call these riders because there's additional benefits associated with a contract. And there's typically a rider fee that the insurance company charges. Now, in this particular case, unlike the commissions, that fee is getting charged to you, because if there's an investment side to that thing, there's usually that fee is coming off that investment side. So knowing if there's any of those kind of rider fees is going to be important to know. Mutual funds have fees. They have what they call expense ratios. That's the general administrative and research costs that they're having to pay to run that mutual fund, and they pass those costs on to you, and basically it just comes out of the performance. Now, that expense ratio, what they're charging you, has to be disclosed in the prospectus. So if you get that annual prospectus from that mutual fund, you can go in there and find out exactly how much you're paying in that fees that's just coming out of your performance. Now, if you have assets under management, this is where a portfolio is actually being managed by an investment company advisor. Typically how you get charged in that kind of environment is there's a percentage that they charge you on the balance of what's in those accounts. And they call it assets under management. Typically you'll see anywhere from 1%, sometimes up 1.5%. Now, where your funds are held, that's typically with a custodian. You want a custodial relationship because you want that custodian reporting to you everything going on in the account, okay? In the past, we saw a lot more custodians charging a fee for the trades that were under those accounts. Today, because of competition, a lot of these custodians are now not charging any trading fees. Now, they'll charge you a fee when you exit maybe a qualified account because they have to do a 1099 at the end of the year, but for the most part, no fee. So hopefully you found that valuable. But again, understanding how you're getting charged and what you're paying, very, very important.
We look forward to helping you plan to retire well.
Hi, welcome back. Now listen, in this segment, I want to talk about Roth IRAs and when you might want to do what they call a Roth conversion. Now, when Roth IRAs first came out, I know a lot of folks ran to the accountant, they ran to the advisor, and they said, hey, should I do this or not? And that advisor, that accountant maybe rendered an opinion, and then you've never looked at it again. Folks, this is something that has to be looked at every single year. There's people that are, let's say, in the lower tax bracket. Okay, they've got their IRA money. Now remember, our IRA money's never been taxed. So every dollar we take out is going to be taxed. So knowing that, and knowing that you have a partner in that account, Uncle Sam, possibly state of Michigan, that when you take that money out, they want their share, trying to minimize that the best way we can is huge. So we have the ability to do that by doing what we call a Roth conversion. That means take my IRA money, pay the tax on it, and then convert it over and put it into a Roth IRA. Now, what are the benefits of a Roth IRA? Well, from here, now that you've paid the tax on that money now continues to grow tax deferred, just like it did in the IRA. But the beauty is then when you go to pull it out, it's not taxable at all. So the idea of being able to convert IRA money to Roth IRA money is big in tax planning. So if I'm in that low bracket, 15% bracket, and that's what Uncle Sam's going to get every time I take a dollar out, then if I have any room in that bracket at all, why would I not want to accelerate money out of the IRA and getting it over into the Roth IRA as fast as possible? I'm not giving Uncle Sam any more than he would have gotten before, but the earlier I get it into a Roth IRA, the quicker that Roth is going to grow tax deferred and be a bigger benefit for me down the road. Now, right now we've been given a huge opportunity with the Tax Reform Act because the tax rates are about 3% lower than they used to be. So right now, if you were in the 15% bracket, you're now in the 12% bracket. If you were in the 25% bracket, you're now in the 22% bracket. So we've got over the next 6-7 years this huge opportunity to be able to accelerate or use up that bracket. So we're buying out Uncle Sam at 12 cents on the dollar versus 15 cents on the dollar, or 22 cents on the dollar versus 25 cents on the dollar. So taking advantage of this is huge. Now, a lot of people go, Larry, aren't there contribution limits to putting into a Roth IRA? Yes, there's contribution limits, but not when you're doing a conversion. You can pay tax on your entire IRA. It could be $1 million if you're that fortunate enough to have that. And you can convert it over to a Roth IRA. And there's actually no income limitations as well. So if you think you're a candidate for that, then I encourage you. Give us a call. We'll see if you're a candidate. We'd be glad to help you with that. Thanks.
Wow, two topics there that are great. One of the things as a financial advisor here is fees. One thing here at Centennial Wealth Advisory, we strive to be transparent. We're not a nonprofit. I don't know of any financial advisors out there that are nonprofits, I guess. But most people don't have a problem with a financial advisor getting paid for their services. They just want to know how, where, and what that looks like. And so it's important to have transparency. There's so many different ways that a financial advisor can get paid, whether that's through fees or through commissions on various products. And John, I know we've ran into some different scenarios where we've seen advisors charge sometimes a lot of fees and sometimes they're not transparent.
Right, and that's the big thing, Art. We want to be transparent, and when learning about the way some other advisors may approach things, and maybe in a way where they may be collecting a commission, let's say on an insurance product, but then somehow charging a fee on top of that. I mean, those are things that just make us in the industry wonder, okay, what exactly are you doing there? And so that's just something that's important for you as you're looking at your retirement accounts. It's just a matter of a conversation with your advisor to better understand how they're getting paid. But another topic, Art, that we want to talk about is Roth conversions and how vital they might be in your overall retirement planning strategy. As we're looking at today's tax environment, with the assumption that as we look forward long term, rates, everyone almost agrees that rates are going to be going up. So it's one where should you be looking at that year in and year out to see, can you be maybe transitioning money from the taxable IRA bucket over to potentially a tax-free Roth IRA, and how important that could be for you if you're married, your spouse, and then even if you're maybe going to leave some assets behind, leaving that money to children tax-free. So a lot of benefits to be considering in your overall retirement plan.
Absolutely, John. I feel like this is an area people fall short in, maybe not the most, but commonly. All the different ways that you can look at how your retirement savings is going to be taxed and the long-term effects it has on you. If you have never seen a Roth conversion analysis on your portfolio, boy, now is a great time to do that. With tax rates potentially changing down the road, this ever-changing environment, all the stimulus that's been put into this economy, boy, what does that look like down the road for you? So give us a call at the number on the screen. We'd be happy to sit down with you at a free, no obligations visit so we can walk through what is your total tax on your portfolio look like? Do you have a bunch of money in IRAs? Boy, wouldn't you like to know what that would look like? Stay tuned, because coming up next to end the show, we're going to be talking about holistic planning.
At Centennial Wealth Advisory, we specialize in retirement planning. Folks, we put a show together every week that we talk about a number of financial topics that are critical in your retirement planning, from tax planning, estate planning, income planning, long-term care, health care planning, and investment management. If you missed the show, then you just visit our website, go to the media tab, and you'll see the latest show. Hi, welcome back. Now listen, in this segment, I want to talk to you about the value of having what we call holistic planning, okay? Now, just about every advisor out there is doing what they call investment management, okay? They're managing a portfolio in some way, shape, form, or another. But in holistic planning, you're going to be dealing with a lot more than that, okay? Now, when you're working, you're in what's called the growth and accumulation phase of your life. You've got plenty of time till you're looking to possibly retire, okay? But when you get near retirement or in retirement, you're in what's called the preservation of wealth and income phase of your life, okay? Your needs are much different than the person who maybe is just getting started working, okay? Now, what are some of those needs? Well, income planning is going to be very important, I've grown this retirement savings. Now I got to take income from it when I get into retirement. What's that going to look like, right? What about estate planning? Yeah, that's going to be very important as well. Long-term care, health care planning is going to kind of come into the mix, right? Tax planning, very important as well. The point is that there's many questions that have to be answered when we get into this kind of planning. For example, I've got my retirement savings, okay? One of the first questions I'm going to ask is, what account do I pull from? Does it make sense to pull my income out of certain accounts versus others? Maybe. What are the tax ramifications if I pull it out of the various different accounts? I'm going to want to know the answer to that because I want to keep my taxes as low as possible. I want to be very wise in how I do that. From an estate planning standpoint, what are going to be the beneficiary designations that I place on these various investment accounts? For example, if you have a trust, you're going to maybe, in a lot of cases, list the trust as the beneficiary. But maybe for an IRA, that may or may not be the best thing to do. You're going to want to know the answer to that. What if I'm somebody who's maybe stopped working, I'm not yet age 65 yet, the age at which I can take Medicare, and I maybe want to get some of those subsidies to help pay for that health care that's out there. Well, now I'm going to want to control my income accordingly. So can you see how all of these have to work together? Now, in some cases, I'm going to want to look at the pros and cons of all those various decisions because some of them can work against each other. Hopefully you can see the value here in that, investment management is a very important thing and the kind of risk I'm taking on in that, but all that other planning has to play a role in it. Again, they have to work together. At Centennial Wealth, this is what we do. We do all that kind of planning. So if any of that is something that you think you need or want to hear more about, then I encourage you, give us a call.
Holistic planning. I mean, it's something that we do day in and day out here at Centennial Wealth Advisory and really enjoy the challenge that brings of trying to figure out how all these different pieces of the puzzle will come together. So it's not just saying, oh, here's an investment plan. It's making sure that investment plan then lines up with your income. Hey, income, taxes are going to be a huge topic. And then along with that, health insurance, how does that play a role? And ultimately estate planning as well to potentially leave a legacy. So reminds me, Art, of a case I'm working on right now where I was working on the tax side with one of the team members here and trying to figure out, okay, what's this going to look like? And then ultimately, okay, we got an answer there. Okay, now we got to bring in the estate planning attorney to help make sure that the trust is set up exactly the way it needs to be to ensure that not only they're taken care of, but then, okay, what does this look like when the money passes on to their children? So a lot of different moving parts, but again, the joy of working in this atmosphere.
Absolutely, John. I kind of liken it to where like these families' chief financial officer, their CFO, we're kind of being the quarterback of all these different things. And it's so rewarding as a business to be able to help people and kind of be that trusted source to have questions answered. Whether that's something as simple as getting a call because they're thinking about purchasing a car, to all the stuff that John just talked about with all these details and inner workings of estate planning, and maybe you're retiring before Medicare and there's insurance subsidies we have to work about with the Affordable Care Act. Maybe we're doing some tax plannings and we have to worry about IRMA tax penalties and all these very specific things. But to have dedicated team members that we partner with specific needs and specialties seems to be very valuable for somebody's long-term plan. John, I can't think of a better way for somebody to feel confident about their retirement where they can have all the answers in one spot.
Yeah, and that's where, again, as you're approaching retirement or in retirement and evaluating what that looks like for you, we strongly encourage you to give us a call. We'd love to sit down with you, no cost, no obligation, to talk through your retirement plan and explain to you a little bit further this holistic planning approach and how it would apply to you. So you're welcome to check us out online at cen-wealth.com, and our hope is that you plan to retire well. Thanks for tuning in.